Welcome, everybody, to another live episode of the SharkPrenuer podcast. This is Seth Green. I have the good fortune to be today to be joined by Tanner Chidester, the best-selling author of Infinite Income, the 8-figure formula for your online business. Tanner built his multi-million-dollar online company from scratch with no budget, marketing plan, or business experience. Tanner, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Seth. I'm excited to be here.
All right. I'm excited to have you. Let's go back in time a little bit because you've got an amazing story. I obviously want folks to go get the book, but how did you get started?
Yeah, shoot. So you just cut me off when you need to, but I grew up in a family of 7 kids, 4 sisters, 2 brothers, pretty conservative household. So just growing up, I was kind of strange, I could say. My sisters played a lot of dress up with me. So they didn't do me any favors. But I just got bullied a lot as a kid. And around 12 years old or so, I just decided I wanted to work out. In my head, I was going to beat these kids up. So I started going to the gym. My mom would drop me off around 5:30-ish in the morning. I'd work out for 2.5 hours. Then she'd pick me up and take me to school. And I go to gym class and then I'd shower. So that's how I started. And then, 3-4 months later, I started getting compliments because, I had beginner gains and I was, in puberty. And so it was just really working to my advantage. There's not a lot of kids lifting at the age of 12. And ultimately, after that, it kind of gave me confidence in school and girls because I saw, hey, I'm working hard and now people aren't messing with me. So at that point, I really started excelling in sports, particularly football. Or American football, depending on, where you're from. And I just dedicated my whole life to that. The way I work on business now is what I did with sports. So until about 22 years old, that's all I did. And then at 22 is essentially when I left school. I got convinced by a guy named David Fry. He introduced me to the ClickFunnels world and taught me how to set up opt-ins and emails and all these types of things. And then from about 22 to 25, I really struggled. I didn't make any money. During that time, I did door-to-door sales. I internshiped with David for about 1.5 years. And then I also was a server. And then around 25, I'd learned a lot of stuff. I didn't know this at the time. It was really setting me up to be successful. But at the age of 25, I kind of had this breaking point where if I didn't figure it out that year, I was going to go back to school. And I saw an ad on Facebook, probably similar to what a lot of people have seen of me, unfortunately. And I clicked on it, got on a call, had no idea what high ticket was, had no idea what coaching programs were, paid them like $5,000. I think I had $2,000 in my bank account, paid $3,000 on a credit card. Learned a couple simple things. Wasn't anything crazy. Learned a couple simple things, implemented it, made $10,000 in that first week. And then never looked back. And then from 25 to 28, I've done over 25 million in sales. And that's where I'm at today. And I don't work that much anymore. So I'm ready for new challenges. But yeah, that's the long story short.
Yes, to get the longer version of the story that is incredibly compelling, you absolutely have to read the book. I couldn't put it down. When your PR firm sent it to me, I said, I knew we had to have you on because you are the quintessential rags to riches, literally like sleeping on couches, homeless, trying to figure it out. And I love the persistence that it took 3 years. You didn't instantly start making money. It took years and years for you to learn it, to hit that tipping point. And then you still invested in a coach besides David, who's I believe has been on the show. You then invested in another coach to learn the thing that you felt you were missing. You set a line in the sand of I'm either making it or I'm going back to school. And you got to remember, what was the first sale? You made $10,000 when it finally hit. What was that offer?
Yeah, well, so it was actually 4 offers. It was, I made that $10,000 that first week, but I have 4 offers, about $2,500, 4 months of fitness coaching.
So you were working at the time as a personal trainer, and you sold $10,000 worth of personal training online. Now, were these people coming to your physical local gym, or was this you were coaching people virtually before COVID?
Yeah, so this was 100%. I mean, this was back middle of 2017. And so I just literally DM'd these people. They'd already been following me. I'd had a modeling career. Said, hey, what's your fitness goals? Got them on a call, sold them. And I was actually shocked because doing door to door, I was making $500 per sale. And then I got on the phone with this person for an hour and they were interested and they wanted it and they signed up and I think the first 3 paid me in full, which I really needed.
Yeah.
I was shocked. And I remember I even closed the deal going back. I was driving back from like North Carolina to Texas and I closed like a $2,500 deal in the car over PayPal.
Like, hang on, let me pull over. You didn't.
No, dude, I was super.
You didn't even pull over and write down the credit card number.
It was super dangerous. Like I'm literally going on the freeway and I'm like trying to do this and like don't do that. But
yes, we are not recommending you try any of this at home. Yes.
And then I remember when I hung up, I like started screaming because I could feel my life changing. It was kind of like that aha moment. Yeah.
Now, when you got started and had that, when it finally started working, when it was finally ready. Yeah. You didn't have a 27-step complicated funnel. You weren't doing 2-3 hour perfect webinars. So talk a little bit about what we would call minimum viable offer was that got you over the hump and realized, oh my God, I can do this.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, so all I did is I just reached out via DM and I just essentially a few questions, it's hard to visualize without showing people, but I just would reach out and they were already following me. And then after I went through those people, I'd go to what I call cold DM. So people who didn't know me, but essentially it was just, I reached out, I'd relate. Hey, saw your car. Super dope, dude. I love cars. Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, absolutely. If you don't mind me asking, what do you do for work? Oh, I do this. Got it. Does that keep you busy? Yeah, it keeps me really busy. And then I would transition and I'd say, totally get that. Does that make it hard to work out? But at this point, it's very conversational.
So you weren't running 27 ad sets. Nah. You weren't running traffic. You were literally, this is the equivalent of like cold calling almost over the phone, but using social media and DMs to do it.
Yeah. So I mean,
in the beginning,
it was like, it was cold DMs. And obviously if they're following you, way easier. I would just go straight to what's your goal. And they're like, oh yeah, what's up, Tanner? Like, so cool you're messaging me. But yeah, I mean, all I did is I just reached out to people via Messenger. And then I'd push them to a phone call and then I would sell them over the phone. And in between the call, I'd have an application. So what to say, how to say it. I think part of why I was successful is the years of door to door, the years of like learning internet marketing. And it really prepared me for that moment because, people hear that, but the hardest thing is what to say, how to say it, all the like particulars that they don't know. But I was ready because I had done the door to door. I'd done the internet marketing. I knew how to speak to people. So once someone said, hey, just reach out and put them on a call and close them, I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, this is even hard. And then once I really got that down, I obviously started adding in ads and funnels and marketing. And then it just was kind of up from there.
Okay. So how did you then, so obviously you got very, very good at that and built a successful personal training online business. Mm-hmm. When did you make the transition to start hiring others to help you do that?
Yeah, I would say around 20, 25 clients. So I had about 20, 25 clients and I was DMing each client at least once a day, but then they'd all message back. So just between that, it's about 3 or 4 messages a client. It's about 100, 150 messages a client. Plus I was taking all the sales calls. Plus I was starting to run ads. Plus I was doing all the messaging. So that's the first thing I hired out. And I hired my brother. Ironically, the 2 first people I hired were my brothers. So I hired one as a coach. I lied, first 3, one as a coach, and then I hired someone to kind of help me with messaging. And then after that, I hired a sales rep, and that was my other brother. So the benefit I had of also scaling fast is I had 2 family members that I knew I could count on. Most people can't work with their family. Luckily, me and my brothers, just the way we were raised and our work ethics in sports, it was a lot easier to kind of push them in. But yeah, so 20, 25 clients, that's when I hired my first person just so they could take the client fulfillment off my hands.
Awesome. And then how big did the personal training business get before you graduated, so to speak, and then became an information marketer and helping other folks in the industry?
Yeah. So it got to, I believe we were doing around 125 to 150 a month consistently. The issue is at that time, what happened was, well, there was 2 things. One, we started to max out on our ads. So, for anyone who's ran ads before, it just got to the point they were no longer profitable. So I was going to have to pivot where I was doing some low ticket offers and some mid ticket offers in there. The second reason was I've been asked multiple times, like dozens of times by people who are willing to pay me $5,000 to $10,000 to help them because they saw my success and they go, well, shoot, if you can do this for you, then obviously you can do this for me. And so I never actually had an intention of being a business coach or business consultant or any of that. I actually had a big stigma against them. But it got to the point where I had to decide, and I said, you know what, where I'm at in my career right now, it makes more sense for me to pivot to consulting other business owners versus running low ticket products for two reasons. One, it was just, I knew it was going to be an instant 7-figure business. And then two, I didn't want to keep going the fitness route in the sense of being the face, constantly dieting, constantly training. I mean, I still love fitness and I work out every day, but there's a big difference between, you know, single digit body fat and then just being healthy. And I just knew as I got older, I didn't want to keep living that lifestyle. So it was just kind of a whirlwind of things, but when you have success, you're going to find people asking for help. And it got to the point so many were asking, it just made logical sense because I literally had 7 figures sitting in my lap just from people asking me for help. So that was really kind of the transition.
I think the title of your next book should be Instant 7-Figure Business. That was a really good headline right there.
Yeah, I mean, it all just came from that initial success. And then obviously after I started helping trainers, I had more people who were outside the fitness industry say, hey, well, can you replicate this outside? And I said, well, it's actually even easier because you got to understand fitness, you can't sell a $10,000, $15,000 program typically, right? But with business, it's easier because there's a financial ROI. So once I started getting those clients, it actually got even bigger, faster, because if you think about it, fitness it's kind of harder to sell. You have more volume, but it's actually a lower priced product typically. So
sure, because they actually have to physically do the work. They have to eat what you tell them to. If you're telling them, you have to actually work out. Whereas in the business world, as you've learned, one, they might be more motivated to implement because they can make money. And two, there are done for you options where you could literally do the work for them and they just have to write the check to a certain extent. So talk a little bit about how you scaled that business.
Yeah. So once I had that initial part down, I started paying coaches like crazy to teach me webinars. And so it's not that webinars don't work. For whatever reason, I couldn't get mine to work, specifically in the fitness industry. So after my 5th coach, I kind of had enough. And at the time, this is right when Facebook Messenger came out, not Messenger, but ManyChat. So kind of like running ads, the bots. And so I had been running my ads through that, but I wasn't doing anything with it. So I got really upset one day. I actually had a verbal exchange with my coach at the time. And I kind of said, F this, I'm going to make it work. So I went into my Messenger on my page and I started DMing every single lead that had come through. And I made, I believe it was 20 grand that week, right? And that was off like $2,000, $2,500 of ad spend. And that's when I was like, kind of the oh shit moment where I knew, okay, I'm going to be rich. Like I figured it out. And from there, I started running all my ads through Messenger and I just scaled it. And the benefit is that, you know, if they click and they come in Messenger and then they go to my training and they sign up or whatever, great. But if they don't, I was able to go back in, and just because I'm so good at just dealing with people and knowing how they think and the door-to-door sales background, it was super simple to overcome all their objections and push them to a call. And then by the time they got on the call, I've already handled like 90% of their objections. So it was a layup, and I'm just closing these people over the phone like crazy. And from there, I just realized that was the method I was going to use. That's what I was going to scale around. And I started building teams and systems around that. And, you know, it's a lot different than what most marketers do at a 8-figure level, but it worked for me and I still use it to this day. So
that is absolutely fantastic. What inspired you to write the book?
I just think, well, two things. One is a bucket list. I just think, you know, we all are going to die at some point. We should have things that are just to do. And then the second thing is I think I have a more than like better than average mentality. And I know during my journey, I almost quit. David could tell you maybe 5 times where I'd call him and I was like, hey man, like I'm going back to school. I can't do it anymore. And he would just, you know, basically pull me off the ledge and say, Tanner, like if anyone can do this, you can do it. And so I kind of wanted this book to essentially just be written. So one, people could relate to my story. And then two, they could see tactical things that I did, because the thing for me is I've always been the person, I don't care what I have to do. I just need to know what to do, versus most people, you can tell them what to do, but they won't do it. And so hopefully by reading the book, I'm hoping people can kind of shortcut their success, or at least get a better understanding of what to do, because I spent a lot of time trying stuff that was super difficult and wasn't working, wasn't converting. And most people, they can't spend, $50,000 in 6 months on coaches like I did. I mean, I was taking every single amount of profit, most of it, and I was putting it right back into coaches and ads. And it got very frustrating. And most people, they're not going to be able to deal with that. So I'm really kind of trying to help people who maybe they're down to their last stand, their last $10,000, $5,000, and this is their only shot. And I wanted to kind of tell that story because when I was trying to figure this stuff out, it was very frustrating, to say the least.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been there I started a similar thing, but in the financial services industry as opposed to personal fitness. So I totally get that. Obviously, your persistence is a common theme that comes through in your refusal to give up. What are some of the other personality traits you think that made you so successful?
I mean, I think obviously my work ethic helped. I think sports really helped me. It's funny, when I left college, a lot of the guys who don't go to the NFL or the NBA or whatever, a lot of the top athletes I play with multiple NFL players. They don't really have anything left. Their degree wasn't very good. They didn't try very hard. And so basically, if sports doesn't work out, it doesn't help. But what it helped me, it really taught me how to work hard, because I maximized my talent, I think, from work ethic. There were a lot of athletes who were more superior to me in talent, but I really had to work hard to kind of keep up with them. I think the other thing is just there's something inside me as well. I don't know what to call it, but I have a desire to kind of live my best life. So, I've said it already once, but if we have 80 years to live, I just don't want to look back with regret. And something that was instilled for me at a young age was just to be the best I can be. And it sounds cliche, but that's part of what drives me. Some people, they think it's about the money. I like to say the money's a scorecard. The money indicates that what you're doing is working and you're being somewhat successful, right? Like you're kind of hitting your goals versus, I need to make a bunch of money for self-validation. And I've learned that along the way. But I just want to be the best I can be. And I would say the money is more of a scorecard. So between the work ethic and then just being the best you can be, you can't really instill that in people. Like there's certain people who they'll do what they need to do when no one's looking, right? I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like, will you wake up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or are you going to read a book a day? Are you going to, study Spanish? Are you going to work on your business for 10 hours instead of 6? There's just a lot of things I think most people won't do when someone's not watching. And there's just something inside of me that drives me. And I'm not even sure what it is at times, but it just makes me want to be the best I can be. So I'd say those two things, if that helps. I hope that didn't confuse anyone.
It does. It helps a lot. You now you give advice every day. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
I think the best advice I ever got or I went through was I just wish I'd hired a coach sooner. And it's funny when I say that because I think 80% of the coaches I've hired were bad investments in the sense I didn't think I got my money's worth. But what I will say is that success, part of it is speed. And why some people fail is it's not that they're not moving in the right direction. They're going too slow. And so they get sick of their current situation. Right? That maybe they're making $2,000, $3,000 a month and they get tired of it. So if I could tell anyone to, better advice, I would just say, find someone who's living the lifestyle you want, hire them or hire someone similar to them. And that's the quickest way to learn because information isn't the issue. The issue is execution and knowing what not to do and what to do. And I was in that mindset of I'm going to Google stuff and then I'm going to kind of try this, try that. But the issue is I never knew if what I was doing was right or if I just wasn't doing it right, if that makes sense. Like, was the path correct and I was just doing it the wrong way? Or was I working really hard doing the wrong things? And so when I had a coach, it was easier to commit because 1, you paid a bunch of money, so you're going to do what they say. And then 2, at the end of the finish line, I was like, this is the right thing to do, or this is a wrong thing to do. And that way I was learning much faster. And I think what made that easier for me is I had a goal to be a multimillionaire. And so I was able to get over wasting money per se on coaches because I go, well, you know what? If I'm really wanting to make millions of dollars, is $10,000 that big a deal? But I think a lot of us get so scared and we get in such a very scarcity mindset that we don't want to lose what little we have. But the irony is that by not paying someone who knows more than us, we're automatically going to stay stuck. And once I got over that, 22 to 25, I had 0 coaches. I made $2,000. 25 to 28, I've done over 25 million, and I've probably spent maybe $1 million on coaching. And I'm not saying you have to spend $1 million, but I am saying that I think that's part of the reasons I was successful. So that's the advice I'd give.
Awesome. Amazing story. Incredible journey. Fascinating business. For our folks who want to learn more, where's the best place for them to go get the book, Infinite Income, and where's the best place for them to learn more about you?
Yeah, so you can go to infiniteincomebook.com/get the book, or you can just go on Amazon. It should be right there as well. We're actually going to start getting our warehouses pretty soon. And then in terms of me, guys, you can just go to elitecos.com, check out testimonials, information about me, or shoot me a DM. I promise you I'll hit you up at some point. That's kind of my main thing. So yeah, thanks so much for having me, Seth, and hopefully it was helpful to a few people who listened.
Awesome. Yes, we're getting some good feedback. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks everybody for watching. This is Seth Green for SharkPrenuer with Tanner Chidester. Tanner, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Seth. Appreciate it.
Thanks everybody for watching or listening, and we'll see you next time.